Welcome to the Dealmakers Industrial Tech 2021 Salon. My dog is barking, of course, as soon as it starts. Pascal, chill out. My name is Isaac Brown. I'm an associate partner here at Landmark Ventures, and I'll be leading today's sessions. With me, I have Olivia Allan, Executive Vice President of Events here at Landmark. Some of you joined us for the first iteration of the Dealmakers Industrial Tech event in Chicago in 2019, and it seems like a really long time ago.
Hi, Isaac, and wow, it really seems like a very, very, very long time ago. Thank you so much for having me join you today, and thanks to the familiar faces tuning in today to join us that were with us in Chicago, and certainly to our newer attendees. We're so excited to have you part of our Dealmakers community, so thanks for being here. Community right now, at least for me, just feels more important than ever. So yes, so much has changed for the entire world over the last 16 months. I feel, Isaac, a little bit that like that's the understatement of the century by even saying that. But amazingly enough, it's not just the industrial tech sector that has gone through this really transformational change. Though we are going to get to that, and that's the focus of our morning here. But I would love to just also share that there's obviously no denying how much has changed across the hospitality and the events landscape. Isaac, if it's okay with you, I'd love to just shed some light on how we digitized. I know for you and I, both at the outside of the pandemic, we would be talking about our two practices. And at the beginning, it felt like industrial tech and events, we had no commonalities of what we were going through. But as we quickly discovered throughout the pandemic, we were both really digitizing at a rapid pace. So I would love to just share a little bit of our journey, if that's okay with you. So in late February, we started our events practice at Landmark Ventures, really started to recognize that something was coming that we didn't understand. We have a relatively global team, both in experiences and connections, and by no means did we know what was happening. No one did. We all agree about that, but we were observant. We saw, for example, that schools in Hong Kong were closed starting in January. We also had been planning a very exclusive Dealmakers event for 250 investors, innovators, and thought leaders, VIPs, to take place in late March at the beautiful Half Moon Bay Resort in California. And we started to get word in early March from guests that were scheduled to travel from all over the world that they wanted to be there, but the likelihood of being able to travel from Israel and Asia was diminishing. So, we just moved really fast. What we did know was that we didn't want to simply cancel events. And, for the industrial tech industry, you couldn't cancel either. You had to keep providing. And so we decided that we would not take a wait and see what happened approach in sort of true Landmark fashion. For those of you who don't know us, we just did what we thought was right. And that was to figure out a way to connect our communities through events. So while we were renegotiating hotel, transportation, food and beverage contracts, attempting to recuperate literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in contracted event spend, our team was simultaneously figuring out our transformation to digital. As many teams do when they're trying to figure out a big project, we named our project to give ourselves focus, and we named it Project Blue. We had a focused squad of really smart members of our team trying, testing, producing virtual event experiences. And in all, unbelievably, we assessed over 350 different event technology platforms and tried many of them on our own events. Now, I would absolutely be lying if I didn't say that I probably still have quite a few, as our team does, bumps and bruises along the way from just getting in there and trying everything. So, one of our key learnings, which I think we'll hear a lot of today, is that for us, nothing is perfect for everything. There is no one technology solution that fits every event, every problem. Although I'm sure we've all been told that there is. We might have even bought solutions that will fix everything. But we learned that we needed to build a technology shelf, and it was filled with a mixture of dynamic event technology solutions that we now pull based on our needs. And, humbly, we're always learning, just like any strong team should be. At Landmark, our best wasn't good enough, but, I'm really proud to share that 16 months later, we've produced over 100 events during a pandemic. Of course, they're not the same as in-person events, but I think that, one of our silver linings has been that there isn't a virtual in-person hybrid delineation in our vernacular anymore. We're now much more focused on client, partner, internal partner. Isaac, what are you trying to achieve by bringing this group of people together? And we go from there, pulling from our tech shelf to digitize, as I shared. So with all that in mind, hopefully some of you have had the opportunity to join us at our virtual events, such as the Nexus Dealmakers Summit this past March. This month, we've just started doing intimate in-person dinners and small networking events. So by all means, please reach out to us if you haven't been invited to any of those yet. We'd love to have you. And by fall, we'll be hosting several hybrid events, including our next Dealmakers series events, which are Landmark CIO Summit. It'll be based out of New York City with a virtual component. So all this to say, I'm sorry, if I was a little long-winded here, but there's a lot to say and a lot of passion in what we've all been through. And I'm excited for this conversation today because, as I said before, we digitize our events. On the onset, industrial tech and events had nothing in common. And Isaac and I have really collaborated in this digital journey. So, Isaac, let's get started.
No, thanks, Olivia. I think our events business is an interesting proxy for measuring the return to normalcy, right? Because it's all about people getting together. So it's always interesting to hear your thoughts on it. So in 2019, when we hosted the first version of this conference, we explored topics around digitization within industrial operations. And one of the key themes that we really talked about 2 years ago was just the lack of scale and the overall slow rate of adoption for Industry 4.0 and industrial IoT technologies. Despite all the hype and the copious billions of dollars invested in these solutions, industrial enterprises, frankly, have been really slow to roll out those kinds of digital technologies. And it's cliche, and I hate to frame everything in terms of the pandemic and its impact on various industries, but it's hard not to. And for a wide range of industrial verticals, the pandemic was really the kick in the butt that those companies all needed to finally begin rolling out digital solutions at scale. Honestly, a lot of them didn't have a choice. Unplanned downtime became even costlier. People couldn't travel to do the things that needed to be done. Staffing was an absolute nightmare for so many reasons. Customer demand spiked or decayed with unprecedented unpredictability. The list goes on. One thing that's clear now is a lot of the strategies that were adopted as a part of the pandemic response are going to be permanent fixtures across industrial operations.
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's talk about today's program. We've assembled several industry leaders to discuss, incredible industry leaders to discuss operational innovations in recent years. As Isaac, as you said, not just pandemic response, but of course, that will be a theme. So first you'll hear from Stanley Black & Decker and Honeywell around the use of emerging technologies for workforce enablement, which is going to be amazing. And then second, we'll chat with Albertsons and ConAgra to discuss operational innovation in one of the most important essential sectors, food and beverage production and distribution, as I referenced before, really important for me as a leader of this practice.